Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's not too late. We just started what we call the POLITY, and today we'll be starting with APC's battle for chairmanship. And with me in the studio is none other than Dr. Mefor. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program. And to my right is Sunday Attah, National Coordinator for Stand Up Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
This afternoon, it appears Dr. Law is not smiling with us. Looks like Nigeria is a bit it's a bit tough on everyone. What's the fuel subsidy saying on your side?
Well, I don't know how to really react to what is going on.
Okay.
Some call it hike, fuel price hike.
Yeah.
Some call it fuel price increase.
Okay.
But whatever you call it, it's an astronomical jump, on what it ought to be, as far as I am concerned.
Okay.
We are all in unison that there is need to review and remove the fuel subsidy.
Okay.
And but the way and manner of implementing it is what has caused this cataclysm in the system and unleashed on Nigerians maximum pain and dislocated the economy. I would liken it to carrying out a major surgery without an anesthesia. The anesthesia, pain killing, enables the individual to tolerate, going under the knife.
Going under the knife, yes, true.
But as it were, nothing. There is nothing to show that the government they actually thought through the policy, because there are no palliatives to really cushion the pains and to worsen the situation. Another major policy was paired with it, and that is floating of the naira. And when you float your currency, what that means is that you're leaving it entirely to what we call the so-called market forces. And in an economy that is not producing and exporting, you don't have many sources of any foreign exchange. Now, you have to also rely on the same international market forces to determine the price of fuel. Energy is fundamental to the Nigerian economy, fuel particularly. Every aspect of Nigerian national life and economy is linked to the energy sector, particularly the fuel. In other words, if you allow the two policies to go side by side, it means that there must be further increase in the price of fuel, as long as you have increase, or depreciation in the value of the naira, in conjunction with the dollar. So as long as the dollar keeps going up, do you understand that? There will be that complementarity. Fuel price will go up with it.
It can be parallel.
In other words, if you have the dollar move to 800 to 900 naira, the implication is that the pump price of fuel will inevitably go up to 800 naira. So you don't unleash such policies at the same time on the polity. I expected that while working on how to introduce removal of fuel subsidy, government certainly ought to have come up with a road map to it by pairing it with commensurate palliatives to enable the people to cushion the pressure that will inevitably result. That wasn't done. And it is paired, like I said, with the foreign exchange that is also floated. Naira is floated. As far as Naira is floating, the determinants will have to be the so-called market forces. But again, I was just thinking this through, and I was asking myself, why is NNPC the one driving the pricing of fuel? If you notice, the independent marketers are responding to the leading by the NNPC. NNPC the moment the President Tinubu announced that fuel subsidy was gone, was the very first institution to review its own pricing.
But then, sorry to cut you short, Dr. Low. Nigerian Tribune this morning states that Femi Falana, of course, the popular senior advocate of Nigeria, he came out to say NNPCL lacks power to fix price. But then, as it is right now in Nigeria, they are currently the ones, of course, in charge of all of this.
That's the point I'm making. You see, NNPC readjusted from 197 to 500 plus naira in pump price,
yes,
right? You know, immediately NNPC did that. All other marketers across the country responded. But meanwhile, they were working on old stock. Even if you say that subsidy existed no more, what happened to the stock?
That you had
before? The stock you had in place under the Buhari administration. You know, usually NNPC has this stopgap of 30 days, you know, and more of what you may call, fallback supply that will cushion or form as a, like I said, stopgap. And what that normally does is, you know, it enables, gradual adjustment in case there is a hiccup in the supply chain. But NNPC went on ahead and adjusted to 500 and they didn't stop there. Again, they adjusted, you know, to 600 Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So there is no logic to support that action, because even if you say, because I listened to one of the independent marketers leaders or president, I don't know his nomenclature now. He said that the price of a crude at the international market moved from 70 to 80. And because of it, it affected the landing cost. But we're not talking about the fresh landing. We are talking about the stock you took.
You guys added
1 to 2 months earlier. So how come it is affected by the change in price of crude in the international market that happened only that week? So you will, and it is NNPC that is driving it. And you see, the danger in all this is that when people say that NNPC is now working on the so-called market forces, NNPC shouldn't be driving the price. Once they do that, it means that they have replaced the monopoly they enjoyed with an oligopoly. An oligopoly is where you have a few, you know, suppliers or marketers controlling the entire market. In other words, you have formed a cartel. That cartel will always fix the price they want. Now, when they say they can no longer fix price, do you understand what I'm saying? Price fixing is not the same thing as fair pricing. NNPC ought to be driving the process of fair pricing, because NNPC is 100% owned by Nigerian government. Do you understand?
That means they should be the one. They should be the one in sole ownership of the fixed price and not NNPC.
You know, they should. NNPC. You know, there's what we call commercialization and privatization, and the transition to what we may call more meaningful market price system. I agree with that. But for a private enterprise, for a government-owned enterprise, which NNPC is typical of, what you should be doing is not going for maximum profit. What you should be going for is fair pricing. Fair pricing here means, you know, what is reasonable. But when NNPC is in the forefront of driving in the process of enforcing maximum pricing, they are actually throwing Nigerians under the bus.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. I'd like you to hold your thought while we move to Sunday. Do you agree with what Dr. Lowe said? It looks like NNPCL right now is just there for the profit making. Is that true? Do you agree with that?
Well, first of all, I will start by introduction by thanking Mr. President for the courage to take off the Kankawan call for a subsidy. You see, the past administration put all modalities in place. They were notifying Nigerians that very soon fuel subsidy will be gone.
Okay.
Even at that time, they had already applied for a loan from the World Bank to the tune of $800 billion.
Okay.
But even at that, they didn't have the balls to officially remove the fuel subsidy, but they technically removed the fuel subsidy by not including fuel subsidy payment on the 2023 budget. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in, and of course there is no provision to further fuel subsidy.
But there was provision for January to June 2023.
You see,
Is
there's what we call market force, which my leader here has spoken about.
Okay.
The market force automatically determine.
But the market force determined because President came forward to say fuel subsidy is gone.
Exactly.
But, okay, this is what I'm asking. Was there provision for January to June 2023 for fuel subsidy?
You see, based on the document on ground, yes,
okay,
there was provision.
So why did the marketers remove it by 1st of June? I mean, we had from 1st of June till the 1st of July for us to say we would enjoy the fuel subsidy thing. But now it was removed immediately the president came in.
I was speaking to one of the marketers,
okay,
and I asked,
okay,
why will you not sell at the old price?
Old price, okay.
So as to
for the old stock.
For the old stock.
Okay.
And he said something. He said the market force won't let them sell at that price, because if they sell at that price, how would they go back to the market to get more product?
Okay.
So NNPC simply did a collaboration and understanding,
okay,
with the marketers, so as to be able to go back to the market and get product.
Okay.
So NNPC at the moment it's not about NNPC sitting down and taking decision as to how much petroleum will be. No, it's the market forces that is regulating it. As a matter of fact, if we leave the market force in the hands of the marketers, I tell you, Nigerians will be buying petroleum product at 1,000 per litre today.
But then the same marketers have suggested alternative energy options to motorists. That's as of today, this morning from Nigerian Tribune, which is actually obviously contradicting, because they're making you feel like, I beg your pardon, they're making you feel like they actually have Nigerians at heart. But then they say actions speaks louder than voice.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
The day Mr. President on the 29th of May made that announcement, the fuel marketers were the first to start shutting down their fuel stations. Okay. Even before the announcement, don't forget that the petroleum marketers already started selling petroleum above the NNPC price of 190 something. They had already started that. So it is, you see, we Nigerians, we don't appreciate what happens behind the door.
So right now you are employing Nigerians to actually appreciate what is happening behind the door,
as a
given that petroleum right now is sold for 618 per litre for some states. Okay,
so let me tell you.
Some states are actually selling for 700 naira per litre right now.
So let me tell you something.
Okay.
There is nowhere a house is built in a day or even two.
Okay.
President Jonathan wanted to remove subsidy. It was kicked against. Before the past administration came on board, they said there was nothing called fuel subsidy. They came and met it. They didn't have the balls to remove it. Now, when you watch the interview of the former governor of Bauchi State, you will cry for this country, where he said that his friend called him and said, please beg those in power to remove this fuel subsidy. They are tired of the free money they are getting from it. Even that he was a chairman of a committee investigating that fuel subsidy madness, they didn't have the balls to remove the fuel subsidy. The only thing Nigerians have to, today I bought at 619, not even 617. I bought today. all Nigerians need to do right now is to be patient with the government.
But if you're talking about Nigerians being patient with the government, I'm a firm believer that there should be balance. And I've always said to people that there should have been things to actually cushion the ripple effect.
Exactly.
Okay, so you agree with the fact that
let me tell you something.
Okay.
Just briefly, less than 3 months of removing this fuel subsidy, government announced that they have been able to save over 400 billion.
Okay, what are they doing with the 400?
Good. Mm-hmm. I said something just now. You won't just wake up and then the infrastructure is done overnight.
Okay.
You won't just wake up and then the palliative are done overnight. Okay. The president constantly said, I am careful about releasing this palliative because I don't want it to get to the wrong hands. So it's clear that the president knows the pains of the people. He is feeling the pains of the people. All right? Mm-hmm. But the palliative, which he announced recently, that of course you know about the palliative recently, 8,000 to 12 million household. Yes. After going through with his team, he revisited it again and said, hold on, let's go back to the drawing board.
But okay, sorry to cut you short, because let's think this through. Dr. Law, you'd agree with me that before you can actually put out statements there, you would have people that would have gathered, of course, to talk about it. I'm sure they'd had closed-door meetings to talk about the 8,000.
That's where you appreciate the humility.
Okay.
That's where you appreciate the humility of this government, by owning up to say, hold on.
Okay.
We didn't do our search properly. Let's review it again.
Okay.
So, having heard that from this government, for me as a Nigerian youth, it gives me an understanding that this government is sincere with the funds realized from removal of subsidy. It is not just about let me tell you something, my dear sister. Okay. It is, even if you give each household 1 million naira every month, it will still be enough to cushion the effect of subsidy removal for the moment. But you see, the plan is simple. Okay. All right, we are looking forward to a time which is very soon, because right now, my colleague here was saying, talking about the impact of floating the naira, and then of course non-availability of dollar affecting the crude oil price left, right, and center. Now the NNPC have put up statement time without number to say our refineries are coming up. The last statement I read was that by December, I think Warri will be ready.
But you cannot be living on something that doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't. No, I have visited Kaduna.
Is it working currently?
It's under renovation.
Exactly my point.
So by December, when we have Warri on board, we no longer buy our crude oil listen. We no longer buy this crude oil in dollars. We buy in naira.
So now you are
immediately we start buying our oil in naira. Mm-hmm. The market force that is jacking everything up will collapse.
So now you are still saying Nigerians stayed have July till December to actually face.
There is no price. I put it to you, my dear sister, and to Nigerians. There is no price. There is no price that we cannot pay to relieve ourselves from the few individuals who have been feeding on the subsidy money.
And you
no price.
Okay.
If we have bear them till now and they keep destroying our economy, because if you don't have money, if our oil is no longer a blessing to us and just a blessing to few, there is a cost to Nigeria.
Well, I've always said we have to give it up for the President Tinubu's administration for at least even listening to people. Because
exactly.
The former administration wouldn't have actually even said they were going to review the 8,000 naira palliative. They would have gone ahead.
That's why I said we must understand the sincerity of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Nigerians, not to the cabals.
Not to the cabals. So that's one point. Another point is I was trying to say 1 month would have been enough for him to actually plan properly. I mean, from June 1st to July 1st would have been enough for the president to come out. He said something. He said fuel subsidy is gone, and the market has actually acted on it. But then it's the president's word. I mean, it was Dr. Law that said on this program once that it was possible for him as the president to actually come out and say, okay, I revoke what I've said, given that there were provisions for June 1st till July 1st. Don't you think 1 month would have been enough to actually plan properly for this fuel subsidy removal?
Okay, so governance is not about talk. It's not what we sit on the TV and talk about.
Okay.
The realities behind the stage, we don't know them.
Okay, the realities for us behind the stage, but the president's speech is quite powerful.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, the president's speech right now is not, he has not in any way deviated from his speech.
Okay.
What the president is doing right now is, oh, okay, good. I have said this. I have dished out this policy, but oh, this is and that is. Those are the things behind these policies that I have dished out. What do? My team and I have to go back to review this policy, because you see, that's why I say we must appreciate that sincerity. To first of all own up to say, oh, hold on, let's go back and review this policy. Whatever plans we have, 1 month will never be enough. Let me tell you, 1 month will never be enough to resolve any. This, like for example, this TV station, if you have a salary structure issue, I tell you, 1 month may not be enough for the CEO to even figure it out, because the complexity behind it, you don't know it. Only those within the administrative structure of government understands it. And this is why they have come out sincerely to say, oh, we intend to give 8,000 per family to 12 million families, but we have gone back with our team. Don't forget that the president have not even announced his ministerial team. He's only working with a few that is available. All right, so the president have gone back with his team to say, okay, hold on, let's figure out a proper channel. And for us as Nigerian youth and in the civil society, we would rather suggest to the president that instead of giving this 8,000 to household family to each household, why not deploy this 8,000 into agriculture? Let's have agriculture contributing to the economy. Give this money to farmers. If you empower today, if you empower a farmer, and of course, before empowering the farmer, you must fight insecurity.
But then the president, as of last week, said they were going to go for 500,000 acres of farmland, and of course, they add a different thing for farmers apart from the fuel subsidy.
Exactly.
Money.
In Nigeria today, it's not just about getting land and farming.
Okay.
The first thing you deal with, if you want to see the effect of agriculture in Nigeria, is to deal with the insecurity. You have to, because today, Plateau State, I schooled in Jos. Okay. I know very much about the Plateau people. The mango asses are where this Irish potato that we all eat come out from. The agricultural activities there is massive. But as we speak, given to the insecurity in that area, people no longer go to farm. I'm a Benue man. My relatives that farm no longer go to farm. Why? Because of insecurity. So, and that is the promise again the president made by ordering the service chief to run these bandits and enemies of government off our bush and forest, so that farmers can return to their farm. And then another place to channel this money being recovered courtesy of subsidy removal is to our educational system. We appreciate the loan, student loan the president talked about, but far beyond the student loan, what happened to, featuring so prominently in, taking care of tuition fee, maybe for the less privileged, for people that their family can afford. There's a way the government can come out with policy to say, oh, okay, if your school, if a school fees in maybe one of the university of Abuja is 50,000, okay, government take subsidy of 25,000. So these are the angles that government can actually plumb this money into, and it will be more effective, because I tell you nothing but the truth. 8,000 as we speak cannot even feed anybody for 2 days. So, but you see, the joy we have while we are happy that the president was able to remove the subsidy, we know that he have the sincerity to implement whatever it is that they are getting from removing fuel subsidy. The president is not going to loot us. The president is not going to bring people, ministers on board that are going to loot Nigeria. The president understands the problem of Nigeria. When he was campaigning, he said something. He said, "I am coming to bring to you a Nigeria that will work, or a working nation." Okay. That is what the president said.
All right, Sunday Attah, let's hold it there for a bit. Now to Dr. Law. He said government is sincere enough to channel the money in the right place. That's one. And two, he said 1 month wouldn't have been enough to plan. What's your take on that?
Well, I wouldn't worry so much about 1 month not being enough. Okay. Because he wasn't deployed at all. That claim is hypothetical. Okay. So the important thing is that the president, acted on the side of the forces that forge the present hardship that Nigerians are going through. Yeah. If the president didn't act on the side of those forces that work against the masses, that is anti-masses forces, ongoing at the moment in the country, he would have cautioned the NNPC when they reviewed the price from 197 to 500. The president not saying anything about it meant that he approved the policy. Because if he didn't, he amounted actually to what we may call economic sabotage. It's treasonable, because it was capable of collapsing the new government. So the government needed it that way. And why did Tinubu allow it to be? He allowed it to be because he met what you may call empty coffers. There was no money left. Empty well. Dry. But you see, what ordinarily he should do, if I were him, is not to throw the masses under the bus. What he ought to have done is to go after the people that are holding our money. The people that are holding the money, they are known. Where the money is known. The policies that have caused the massive looting going on known.
But do you think the president
wait a minute,
bold enough?
Please, wait, that's the issue here. It becomes a matter of political courage. In other words, he is now taxing the masses to raise money to keep supporting the same elites that have brought us where we are. That is where the problem is. Otherwise, there is more than 100 trillion naira looted from the treasury. I don't want to recount where all that is. I will refer you to the document recently released by Femi Falana-San. 25 areas where massive corruption looting took place in Nigeria. The president ought to look in that direction. I once called for international forensic audit to help him unravel what happened in those areas. For example, you want the country to face market forces. Now, when you say market forces, another way of saying market forces is demand and supply. This is Econs 101. It's not. It doesn't require a professor to explain it. When you have, enough supply, it will drive down the demand, right?
Yes.
It's very simple. What that means is that before removing the fuel subsidy, you should have allowed. First, you must break the monopoly of NNPC, because as at that time, NNPC was the sole importer of fuel. You should have issued licenses to independent marketers to bring in fuel. By doing so, you break the monopoly of NNPC. Supply would have been in place. The president did not allow that. So we should stop making excuses for him, because the options before him are very clear. It's either you are for the masses or you are against them. Now, all over the world, you have this tendency of the executive arm to go for anti-masses policies, and that is why you need very virile opposition, organized labor, both are lacking in Nigeria. You can't point to one figure now and say that this is an opposition figure in Nigeria. You can't point to one political party now and say that this is an opposition party in Nigeria. Nigerian Labour Congress collapsed since the days of Hassan Somono.
But then the Nigerian Labour Congress is still...
Forget about those shenanigans. They are worse than a toothless bulldog. And I'll tell you why. They are part of all these things. If they are not part of it, it is their duty to step in on behalf of the people. That they haven't done. Even the Nigerian students' body has also gone on that. You see the president of Nigerian NANS, what you call a National Association of Nigerian Students, right? In a convoy of SUVs, right? A student. Do you understand that? We were all there ourselves. I was a student union leader. My first degree, University of Jos, right? So we know what student unionism ought to be. All these things have collapsed. In other words, all the structures that will wage the tyrannical tendencies of the presidency are all gone, leaving Nigerians stranded, helpless, and hopeless. This is what has happened. And it will continue because Tinubu has seen that Nigerians can't do anything. So he's going on, rather than face the elites, the political elites that looted the country. He's afraid of the backlash. He's afraid of the backlash that will be coming from there. He finds the Nigerian masses a lesser opposition to confront, because he knows that they are not united. They cannot, put forward a common front and be able to really drive the kind of change they want. They are not in a position to do so.
Do you
now, wait a minute. You see, excuse me, please.
Okay.
Just hang in there. Okay, just let me round off. Don't come in that way. It's not good. See, you see, until you have opposition that is organized, the natural tendency, of the executive arm to remain tyrannical will continue. Do you understand that? Now, summarily, moving forward, right? Because the issue is very clear. One is that these two major twin anti-people policies, floating of the naira, removal of fuel subsidy, nobody is against the two. But you don't put the cat before the horse. I already gave you the analogy of carrying out a major surgery without anesthesia. It's not done. No medical doctor will do that. If you do that, it's either you are being willful or you don't know what you are doing. And I tell you, the initial euphoria that some people enjoyed with the coming of Tinubu, the announcement of fuel subsidy removal, I was one of the persons that said, look, it's a good policy in the right direction, but it shouldn't have gone that way. And now we had expected that the price will go down, but price is not going down. The price is going up.
And
there is every indication that the price will continue going up as long as the price of the dollar is going up.
Dr. Law, I said something yesterday, and I've said, does the law of gravity actually apply to Nigeria's economy, especially when it comes to fuel subsidy removal, that whatever goes up must surely come down?
It cannot come down because you have no forces. You have no economic forces on ground to bring it down. You talked about law of gravity.
Yes.
Law of gravity bringing down. You don't export much. Do you see the problem? As at last economic indices released by Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, the Nigerian earning, when it comes to foreign exchange, 75% of that is still coming from oil. What that means is that if you leave your economy, if you tie it to the international pricing of oil, by 75%, your local economy will respond in that manner. That is what has happened. So if you talk about changing it, it means that you should have been able to plan in a way as to allow certain policies. You should be able to export more. You should be able to, so many things. You should be able to not only export more, but also reduce import. Do you understand that? When you reduce import, the implication of that is that demand for dollar has significantly come down. And because it has significantly come down, it will not affect much the interchange between the local market forces and the international monetary system. This is not taken care of. So when we talk about planning, we are talking about getting a team, multi-stakeholder engagement. NLC, the labor, the marketers, the government, sitting down and agreeing on the way to go. If you don't do that, by December, I'll be surprised if we don't buy fuel at 1,000 naira.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Low. And I like to. You were going to say something. You're going to interject earlier.
Yes. What I was about. What I want to say is that first, at this junction, appealing to Nigerians to be patient with the government, to see through this policy, is the key thing that every Nigerian at the moment should do. Why did I say that? Fuel subsidy is gone, ain't going to come back anymore. It's gone. The policies that governments have introduced is not anti-people. It is for the good of the people and to revamp our economy. This is not a policy that enrich an individual. All right?
Okay.
This is a policy that will rejig our economy. He just made mention of something that the president came and met empty paws. All right? So if you don't have money, how do you run your economy? If there are so much leakages from NNPC, from the sale of our crude oil, how do you run the government? Our revenue today, all our earning today, 75% or more, comes from oil revenue generation. So if the government have said, not even have said, Nigerians have cried before President Tinubu came on board. Nigerians cried to President Muhammadu Buhari, please remove fuel subsidy. We know that when the fuel subsidy is removed, this hardship will come. Someone like me, I had already seen it before this time. And see,
I don't think it's safe to actually say the all Nigerians, because I'll still revert back to one of the papers this morning. That's Nigerian Tribune newspaper. It said, poor being choked, Tinubu adding salt to our injuries. That's coming from Nigeria.
No, that does not.
And then we still have reports on ground of.
That does not say that Nigerians do not know that as soon as subsidy is removed, you won't be buying petroleum product at the same amount.
But not this high. I mean,
this is a little bit. We go back to the market force, and this is where I will submit my argument here to say that the only thing to destroy this market force that keep jacking this petroleum product up is for our refineries to get back to work, which the renovation is going on. I told you here that the NNPC told us that by December, I think Warri will be ready. Now, if our refineries are ready here, who is going to be buying crude oil in dollars? Who will now be buying crude oil? You just go to NNPC, you want to buy. It's just like a free market thing. You buy NNPC, you buy crude oil in naira, you refine in naira, you sell in naira. So the dollar no longer controls it.
But then as it's where now, the president came on board, and of course he unified the dollar rate, which of course is part of why we're facing this problem. Don't you think the president should have at least toned it down? I mean, dollars as of this morning is 850, if not more by now.
Does it?
You see, I keep saying it, and I'll say it again. Is a policy that just started barely a month ago. Why do we want to return back to the dark days where somebody is controlling how much goes into the market? All right? Why should we go back to the dark days? All right? Where somebody sits somewhere in CBI and said that they have released also billions of dollars to the market and know it's going to individual pocket. The president have made it unattractive to those that are doing that racketeering and has opened it to Nigerians. I went this morning, yesterday night, I bought dollar at the price that everybody can just go to the market and buy.
You cannot. This is my issue. You cannot speak for the whole Nigerian. I think you should speak for yourself, because what's on the street. I mean, we have reports there. I'm in
Nigeria.
You are in Nigeria.
I'm a coordinator of.
Yes, a civil society organization
in Nigeria. Yes, and apart from that, I'm a member of the coalition of civil society groups in Nigeria.
Well, you cannot.
I feel the pulse. I speak to Nigerians always. I just came out of a meeting with coalition of civil society groups in Abuja, and we spoke. I feel their pulse.
But do you even realize the Nigerians in diaspora, the ones in schools, are actually even complaining? Because this is not even a matter of Nigerians in Nigeria alone. Imagine you pay school fees for 2 million naira as of last year, and then because dollar rate has gone as far up as 850 naira now, you are not paying double of what you paid the last time. You are paying probably triple or 4 times more of what you paid the last time.
Policy implementation takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, but then in 2 months a lot has happened.
It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Okay.
All right. The president have told us that give me time and I will revamp the economy.
Okay, nobody has a problem with giving time, but then someone just wrote something about, now we've given the president time, right? But then, are these policies...
The president is just 52 days in office.
Okay, hold on. Are these policies actually affecting the politicians and Nigerians, or it's just one-sided?
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
Even if you're a politician and you are earning 1 million naira today, in whatever position, or 2 million naira today, in whatever position, it's still on you because you have relatives that you cannot even look away from.
We're not talking about relatives. Let's pinpoint. Let's go direct straight to the politicians, because I think all Nigerians actually know that all of these people have monies they actually appropriate for certain things. They don't even pay for their own petrol to fuel their own cars. They don't pay for that.
Yeah, that is why some days ago I wrote an article where I suggested to the president that the ongoing plan to spend 70 billion at the National Assembly is evil. Okay. Because you can't be telling.
If you're talking about that is evil, it brings us to my next question. I'm going to throw it to everyone in the House. The House of Representatives, as of yesterday, rejected a motion to stop the increase in the price of premium motor spirit and revert to the old price of 537 per litre. Does that seem like the politicians are actually there for the interest of the people or for themselves?
Okay, so let me tell you. So if as at the end of June, whatever NNPC had at Ostock had gone up.
Okay.
So independent marketers are now the ones that import petroleum product for themselves. And if you allow them to determine the price, like I said, I was speaking to one who is my friend. He said if they have to be comfortable in doing business, they will be selling petroleum product at the rate of 850 to 1,000 per liter. All right. But then again, after NNPC taking off their hands or stop the payment of subsidy, it's natural that they also cannot regulate the pricing anymore. The market force will regulate it. So this is what I will keep saying and pleading and appealing to Nigerians like me. We must give it time. I am 100% sure that this price will crash as soon as our refineries get to board.
Okay, all right. Over to Dr.
Well, thank you for opportunity to contribute. Okay. See, first and foremost, let's get one thing clear. Our refineries coming on board will not bring down the price. Okay. Why? Crude will be purchased at the international pricing system. You know, the price fixed at that level.
International.
So you cannot be selling $80 per barrel in the international market and sell differently to Nigerians, Nigerian refineries, unless you are prepared to introduce some kind of subsidy, or you introduce what you call crude swap. NNPC was doing that at a point. They were running that policy and at the same time collecting trillions in subsidy. You know, when you say crude swap, it meant you were giving a crude in exchange for refined petroleum products. In other words, the issue of subsidy will be non-existent or at worst, minimal. But in 2022 alone, NNPC recorded a subsidy of well over 10 trillion. Meanwhile, they were driving the crude swap. That is why I said that the president is not really looking into what happened in the last 1 decade with a view to plugging the so-called loopholes. Do you understand that? He is going with the mess that he met, as far as I am concerned. Otherwise, if you know that NNPC is a cesspool of corruption, the same management team headed by Meleke Ari is still leading it. There is nothing to show that the president is not comfortable with the way and manner NNPC has been run.
But do you think, don't you think probing most of these people would have been, because eventually when he started, he removed service chiefs, he removed this and removed that. Some persons tagged it in Nigerian slang, initial gragra. But then over
that is what it is, as a matter of fact. It's initial gragra. It has turned out to be that the president was not actually after mismanagement of the economy. For example, the removal of somebody like Mefor, the former governor of the CBN. Okay. Should I even say the former governor of the CBN? The CBN governor.
No, but he's been removed.
He's not removed, he's suspended. Okay. Suspension is not the same thing as removal. No, wait a minute. We need to get this. Like wait a minute.
Yeah, Dr. Okay, quiet.
Do you understand that? We need to get this clear. Now, if you say you remove the man based on mismanagement, corruption, and so on and so forth, they charged him to court. Do you know the charge? That they found a pump action in his house. That is laughable. A double barrel gun was found in his house. That is the charge. You journalists should probe further into some of these things.
That is why I said, I'd like to ask you. I like the fact that you mentioned the CBN governor.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you short. I'd like to ask you further now. Let's take the naira scarcity, for example.
Yeah.
Would you have actually said that policy was the way to go forward for Nigeria, given that we were even close to elections that period?
I wasn't for naira policy redesign as at the time it was carried out. I wasn't for it. I believe that it was too close to election. But the president said the policy was in order to check what he called the voted buying. In other words, it was not just an Emefiele policy, it was Buhari's policy. So why punish Emefiele for it?
But we would agree that President Muhammadu's administration then, he felt like he knew little or nothing about what was even going on in the economy.
No.
Because if you had asked him as of then...
That he didn't know is still not sufficient. What I'm saying is that the then president, Muhammad Buhari, defended that policy. If he defended it, it becomes his policy. And you cannot, punish the agent that happened to be Emefiele. Because if Emefiele didn't get the president's approval and implemented it, then he goes in for it. And again, he is not being punished for the wrong policy anyway. They have told us that they are charging him to court because they found the double barrel gun in his house. That's what we found in his charge. Now, we also found, as of today, somebody like Bawa of EFCC.
Of EFCC.
He's been in DSS detention for over 40 days without being charged to court. So you can see that these things don't really show that the president is after the people that stole from the system.
But the people,
there is nothing to suggest.
Dr.
There's
Law,
nothing to suggest
what's on the street, Avi, that people were actually happy that Mefor was actually put in custody. And even Bawa, for example, Bawa had a case where he had issues with a certain governor, and there was lots of back and forth about a certain amount of money.
Then charge it to court. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
If you know that Bawa it was corrupt, he collected money from Matawale, $2 million and all that, charge it to court. That's what we want to see. If you don't do that, then you're keeping him for other reasons. And Emefiele's case, like I have said, if he is corrupt, charge him to court. That is what the law says. You cannot be a judge, and an accuser in your own case at the same time. It's wrong. If you don't, if there is even a court order that says that, look, charge Emefiele to court to release him. And they charged him to court for possession of a pump action. Gone. You now ask yourself, at what point did the DSS know that the Mefor had a double-barreled gun in his house? Before his arrest or after his arrest? Certainly after his arrest. That means you already arrested him for other reasons before you now saw the pump action. So you can see that this whole thing is all politics. The president has to go beyond politics. He has to set politics aside and recover our money from the people that looted the treasury. What he's doing at the moment is taxing the masses to raise money to run the government. By so doing, he is still financing the same elites. For example, the 70 billion for palliatives for the lawmakers. What is the justification for that? That is aside the average of 13 million earned by a senator per month.
Okay.
So what do you have as justification for offering additional 70 billion? And you know that the 2023 budget has it that the National Assembly has National Assembly budget at placed at about 225 billion. This is well in excess of the figure recorded in 2021 budget. 2021 budget was 100 and something billion. So, apart from jacking up their budget for 2023, you are adding additional 70 billion. Well, while asking Nigerians to buy fuel for 620 naira per liter.
Well, the House of Representatives, most of these bodies have actually come out.
And let me just drop a line on the action of a House of Reps yesterday saying they shouldn't go back to. They are right. I think they are right in the sense that, look, you have already removed first subsidy, and if you say the government should go back to 500 and something, 520 as it were to 540, that is still tantamount to price fixing. Once you do that, you are returning to the subsidy regime. True. Do you understand that? I had expected them to say, look, let us halt subsidy removal, go back to 197 naira, and let us plan this removal properly. That is what will be right. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. That is what will be right. It's not going back to 540. It's not. If you go back to 540, it's price fixing. If you go back to 197 naira, you are suspending subsidy regime. You are suspending subsidy removal and going back to status quo ante to enable you read the plan. Okay. Given the fact that the president and his team didn't plan the removal in the first place. Okay. That's it.
All right, thank you. It looks like you wanted to interject.
No, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, I would have said something about the 70 billion to the National Assembly. But then the National
Assembly came out to refute it and said it was not personal. It wasn't a personal money.
What they claim was that it's for renovation.
Renovation.
What do you expect them to say?
I was billionaire for renovation.
I was listening to a House of Rep member, I think yesterday thereabout, on channels where he said that the 10th Assembly are ready to make sacrifices. That if it means for them to drive, ride camel, and even ride bicycle to the chambers, they are willing to make sacrifices. But you and I know that that is just a lip service. They are not willing or ready to make sacrifice, like Nigerians are making sacrifice at the moment to let the policies of Mr. President see the light of the day. They are not willing or ready to make no sacrifices. And for me, if there is any plan, which of course there is, for them to spend that amount of money, while Mr. President is calling on Nigerians to be patient and make sacrifices, then that is evil.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Before we go, we'd quickly like to delve into APC's battle for chairmanship. I mean, there's a lot going on about that. One would think that with elections over, the APC drama has ended right now. But then it looks like there is the battle is just starting. And I'd like to take it from when Adamu resigned as the chairman, and now it looks like Ganduje of Kano State is going to be the next chairman. What's your take on the old job?
Well, for me, Abdullah Adamu shouldn't have waited to be told to resign, because he opposed the emergence of the present government. It's a fact. He propped up the then Senate President Ahmed Lawan as a consensus candidate. It turned out that it wasn't so, and even if he didn't sell. When you push such a major policy and it doesn't work, you just get out of the way. But he sat there until he was shoved aside. That said, I really don't think that there is much going on in APC in terms of bringing out a new chairman.
But the Ganduje as the chairman of APC, does that even speak well for the party?
Why shouldn't he speak well for the party? I don't see why he shouldn't. He is not before any court for any reason. He just finished as the governor of Kano State. And that has been over 1 month ago, going to 2 months. That is time enough for EFCC to have brought him in for question. So as far as I am concerned, if it's not questioned by now, then he's free enough to run for anything. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand.
And there are governors, his colleagues, who are already in the National Assembly. Do you understand that? So if that is the fact, I know at least 3 to 5 governors, his own colleagues, that are in National Assembly and senators. I don't see anything stopping him. I remember the dollar,
drama, yes.
the dollar video,
and they said it was doctored.
Well, whether it is doctored or not, you and I are not in a position to really know. It is the EFCC, the ICPC, Code of Conduct. They are statutory organs of government empowered by law to look into such allegations. If they refuse to do so, you and I cannot stop Ganduje from becoming anything. If they do their job and believe they have established what we call prima facie case against Ganduje, they should charge him to court. I keep talking about being charged to court because you cannot be an accuser and a judge in your own case. It's against the natural justice. If you charge whoever is accused to court, the court will look into the allegation and determine the veracity and apportion criminal responsibility, if any exists.
Okay, all right. Over to you, Sunday. What's your take on that?
Well, for me, I would say that the APC seems to be like a house divided against itself. Because looking at what happened through the primaries to the presidential election, even to the National Assembly election, you could hear the president's team talking about the choice of their leadership for the National Assembly, and then you could hear the former chairman of the party, Abdullah Adamu, saying that the party have not taken a stand, contradicting the president. Just like my colleague here said, you could hear that most governors were queuing behind Bola Ahmed Tinubu during the primaries, and from the blues, and then they appeared to Ablai Adamu to say, oh, it's one Ahmed, you have to declare that is the president choice, and then he failed in that attempt again. Just like my colleague here said, it's an honorable thing that he has done, that we shouldn't debate so much on it, that he was not sacked but resigned. Then looking at Ganduje, I was reading on, I can't remember precisely the media house that took that story, that after forensic analysts went through the Ganduje dollar video, it was clear that it was not a concocted video. That video is real, and that brings a question mark to his character and integrity in terms of an upright person. And if the APC wants Nigerians to believe them that they have Nigeria at heart, they must choose the leadership of their party with all sincerity and carefulness. Ganduje giving to that dollar video, which a court has not convicted him, yes, but it is clear that from the forensic report, that video was not doctored. If that video was not doctored, we await further investigation by the EFCC, so we can be able to tell if actually he committed a crime. But if I was to, if I'm to suggest to the APC, I would have said they should look to the direction of someone like Solomon Lalong of Plateau State, you know, looking at the leadership of the APC, right from the president to the vice president, and going down even to the party structure, you discover that the Christians are not properly represented, and it is just but normal that the party chairman position remain in the North Central. Solomon Lalong, I don't know him. I'm not holding brief for him, but I'm just studying the situation within the APC. Solomon Lalong is from the North Central, and I think Makura is also interested. Is in the North Central. It is just. It's only but just for them to, you know, keep that power within the party chairman position within the North Central. And these two guys are eminently qualified. I'm not saying Ganduje does not have the right to contest that position, but if the APC want to be sincere to Nigerians, courtesy of that video, they should look other direction so that Nigerians can trust them, that they mean well for us.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Attah, for joining us today on the program. It was really an insightful one. And thank you, Dr. Law. We hope we'll see you once again on the program. Of course, we do hope by then the APC chairmanship debate would have been settled. But then, our viewers at home, thank you today for joining us on the POLITY. I remain Mercy Babajide. Do want to stay tuned for more updates on KAFTAN TV, and not just that, on the POLITY, for more on what is happening in the society. This is where we drop the pen for today. See you same time, same station tomorrow. Bye.